Welcome back, everybody. This is the 182nd episode of Classroom Brew. I feel like I haven't introduced an episode number in a while, and it kind of got on top of me there, and now we're at 182. But for this one, we've actually got a special guest, but I want to give a big shout out to our Patreon members. So if you are looking to support the show or looking for some podcast merch, head on over to patreon.com/classroombrew. No, it's not an OnlyFans, it's just a Patreon, so if you want to get any bonus content, it's all clean fun, aside from the explicit podcast nature. That's patreon.com/classroombrew. For this one, we've had a few solo episodes. 2021's been starting off kind of weird, a little bit different. We're introducing new segments or bringing back old segments, but for this one, we've got another guest. So I want to introduce you guys to Alex. Alex, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. Alex, Mr. C, aka the host of another podcast, First Gen Teacher Lens. You can catch me on, or follow me on Instagram or any of the podcast streaming kind of platforms.
Right on. So we actually just finished up an episode for your podcast earlier. So and I think that comes out the same week as this one. So definitely check out First Year Teacher Lens if you want to. We talked about everything from online learning to accountability for students and for staff and all that good stuff. So make sure anywhere you listen to podcasts, go check out Mr. C / Alex's podcast. I promise I won't call you Mr. C / Alex the entire time, but
Sure.
But yeah, so you just started your podcast. How's that been going out of the gate? Because you're doing it out of New York City too, so you've got probably a lot of similar experiences.
So I started, I want to say in the summer. I was really alone in terms of I had coworkers, that I could vibe with and talk about what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of all alone, when the pandemic hit, everything was brand new, learning how to navigate these different spaces and get the kids on board. And I started at first, maybe I can do this. I have a personal Instagram, and I follow teachers on there that had different podcasts, but they weren't really connecting to what I was going through in terms of with online learning. I'm first generation American, so when I was diving into these podcasts, I was just I really didn't see that put out there. So I was just you know what, I'll just make my own, and then it's been going pretty well ever since. I got a few guests like yourself, and it's just to vibe with other teachers from different states and gain more knowledge on how they're navigating this entirely new learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody's learning a new thing every day. I learn certain things that about the kids that my kids teach me, how to what's it called? How to extract certain pages, if a PDF is locked. I was wow, some of these kids are really up there in terms of tech savviness.
Yeah, it's kind of scary, right? If you're thinking about academic honesty. And I noticed too that I feel like most of those, and not to bash it, but a lot of the teacher podcasts and teacher Instagrams, it's all about the ideal whatever, here's the perfect digital classroom and the beautiful looking Bitmoji classroom and the best lesson to engage every student, no matter who they are or what you teach or where you are. And I noticed for our episode, it was more about the experience. Have you found that you're connecting with a lot of people that are willing to disclose those things? Are you having these honest conversations? Or I feel like for a lot of people, you kind of have to be a prude, in the public light as a teacher. Are you able to get deep and get into that kind of stuff? Are you able to be open about yourself as a teacher having a podcast? Do your students know all that stuff?
My students don't know. My students know that I do post TikToks. They don't follow me though, but I do make mock TikToks, so
right.
They know I'm part of that basis. But in terms of the podcast and connecting with teachers and having honest conversations, I think so far on the guest episodes that has happened. I know I talked with one teacher, her name's Natalie, on about student engagement, which I'm gonna release, I want to say a couple days. And she was very transparent with her lessons haven't changed. She's hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing that's changed, she said, is following CDC protocols.
Sure.
And but her lessons haven't changed. She said only the kind of methods of making it safe for every kid has
Sure.
changed. And like I was just like I was like thankfully like that's like how I feel. Like my lessons haven't really changed that much. And like I feel like a lot of teachers, like, oh, like you have to like build this kind of grand scheme of like, all right, like I gotta get the lesson like really engaged and like sometimes that falls I wanna say like 99% of the time that falls flat. Like you spend
Sure.
all this time like, because like the teacher work day, a lot of people think it's like over one school and just absolutely not true. That's like a myth. And you spend all your time conjuring up this lesson, and then when you go on Google Classroom, it says turned in two at and then assigned 18, and like that you spent all your time working on this lesson, and like it just doesn't work. So like I tried not to like hype myself up in terms of like I have to create the most innovative thing, like I'm like Tesla, like to kind of like get these kids engaged. No, I take it to the basics, and then for me, less is more. Like so, we'll do an article here. It's assigned to you. All you have to do is like four multiple choice questions and a short response. That's it. And like I keep it to a bare, I want to say minimum. But in terms of like overall honest like dialogue, I think there needs to be more of that, especially from you know I see like administrators like right now. I see like on my page there are a few there are pretty good administrators that I follow that are talking about the mental health of teachers,
Hmm.
and I think that's very much needed. Like a lot of it is being like talked about more so on the students, but like a lot of people I feel like are forgetting about the teachers. Like this is a taxing job
Sure.
with you know to be honest, like little benefits in terms of like pay scale. There hasn't been a pay raise in over 20 years for like nationally for teachers, I believe. But like, you get paid in like, seeing your students do well and like become successful people. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not looking to just be transparent, build like the most like elaborate lessons that like are good at engagement. I'm going for, all right, this is what we learned. Here's how I'm going to assess you on it. Or like, here's how we're going to practice it. And then let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah, yeah. Like get it going. Let's be efficient here. Let's really focus on the bare essentials. And you're in your fifth year now, and this is I'm assuming the first year you're doing this like this whole remote learning version of it. But I mean, how is it going? Like you started a podcast probably at like one of the most common times. Probably I bet a lot of people are, but you're also most people when they start a podcast it's because they're working from home and they don't have to do anything outside of the 9 to 5. You, however, as a teacher, you've got a whole lot more to do. So how's that going? Balancing, you're doing this podcast online, you're talking to a room or to somebody through a computer, and then during the day, and then even after hours, you're planning and prepping, and it's a lot to balance. So how's that been going?
It's been going. I want to say okay. Like I was rocky for I want to say like once I started getting my first guest because like I was ending my second semester of like grad school in terms
Mhm.
of like I'm in my last year, but this is like my last semester right now. So it's
Man,
definitely a balance.
I can't even imagine. Like I did grad school and then I got into teaching. I can't imagine doing grad school and teaching and a podcast at the same time. Wow.
It's a lot. It's like arduous. Like sometimes just be transparent. I don't accomplish everything. Like I try to write everything on my agenda, and like sometimes you just need a mental break and like tell yourself that it's okay not to accomplish everything.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously, like I make a to-do list, and then it feels very, I want to say, euphoric when you like just like put a strike through on like a Google
Yeah.
on like yeah.
Do you ever do it with
So
stuff that's like old too? Like you already did it, but you're like, I'm going to put it on my to-do list just so I can cross it off. I do that all the time.
yeah, I do that too. Yeah. Yeah. So I'll double up. So like for me, it's just like and I spoke about this on another podcast, but for me, I was just like, I don't get to everything, I'm be honest.
Mhm.
Like I think like us we gotta be a sane and like honest, like be honest with some teachers be like, oh yeah, I do everything. Like I have like very like methodical kind of like timelines, and I'm just like that doesn't happen for me because like I feel like there's just way too much stuff going on right now. Just make a to-do list. Like you said, the bare essentials. kind of rank it what I need to do. Like, for example, if I just had a podcast with a guest, I'll immediately jump on that and make some edits. And then I'll put it on the back burner for a little bit. And then like I'll solidify it Sunday night. And
Mhm.
then in terms of planning, like I'm really great that I work with like um a coworker that we're always on the same page and like we just crank stuff out
Mhm.
on Mondays. Sometimes we're working until like 8 or 9. So I use like that day, Monday or Tuesday, just to get the most things done during
Sure.
that time period. And like it's just seamless when you are working like with a good team that like, all right, I think this lesson will engage students. What do you think about this? How can we tailor it to our students? And then just kind of pushing those ideas and then creating like those lessons, those slides, those docs. And like for us, I'm grateful too that like it's just managing, like we know it works, like based
Sure.
on last year. So that's what's made planning easier for the podcast, definitely. Um, for anyone that wants to start one, it's just like I would say make like a template of like what you want your episode to look like, where you have like intro music, outro music,
Mhm.
and then, make it kind of seamless and then just record, make your little edits, and then just flush it out. Because like for me, I think the most honest conversations on a podcast are the ones that are fluid in terms of like whether it's talking to an administrator, educator, an educator from another country, even like just like having fluid, honest conversations, reflecting upon that.
Sure.
So that's what makes it easy for me to kind of juggle everything. And then grad school, it's just like some days it's rough. Like some days I feel like my kids, to be honest. Like I don't have the camera on. They see my my blank screen because it's rough because like you're working and like a lot of people don't realize how taxing teaching is, especially now online when you're talking to nobody,
Mhm.
that sometimes it feels. And then you just move on to, school. Like, I just had a rough day. Like, nobody was engaged. I don't want to be here right now. And you become self conscious that sometimes. I think a lot of teachers do.
Sure.
That happens to a lot of teachers. They become self conscious, especially with remote. Like, was my lesson really engaged? Is something wrong with me? And you have like really like, kind of like a crisis like on your hands where you're just like overthinking it. But
Mhm.
I try my best to, manage everything. I say with grad school is just like I do try to talk because I feel bad for the professor because like some
You've been on
kids
that
like
side of it, yeah.
yeah, exactly. So you don't want to. I absolutely do not want anybody to feel that way because
Now, were you
it
always
is.
like that though, or did it take you being like, were you like that as a student before you were a teacher, like elementary, kindergarten, or going backwards on accident, middle school, high school student? Was that how you were too, or is that a new thing?
No, that was a new thing. Like for me, I was very introverted.
Okay.
As a student, like I always did the work though, because for me, like being raised by a single mom in a Hispanic household, I did not want to like get la chancla or kneel on rice because like that's not fun. That's not like kneeling on rice is not fun. Like for an hour, it's like the most. That's like the most messed up way you can punish a kid. I feel like oh, just kneel on some
That's
uncooked rice.
yeah, that's a new one. I haven't heard that. That's interesting. I'm gonna have
Yeah, so
to.
like I never wanted to do that, so like I always followed suit. But like definitely when I became a teacher, I wouldn't say during student teaching. Like I would say more so during my like first or second year, maybe midway my first year of like being in the educational field. Like definitely made me more, I want to say, vocal
Okay.
and like sometimes like I'm still like kind of like the kids know that I'm a bit reserved, but
Hmm.
like sometimes like that's only because like it depends on what the lesson is. Like
Sure.
if they know like I'll be honest with them if they know the lesson's boring, like if I know the lesson's boring, like they'll get my feeling like this is boring. Like I don't want to
Right,
do
right.
this.
Well, and they probably know too. Like if you're more reserved, I'm sure like you have to be a big personality sometimes when you're teaching. But if they were
Yeah,
to see you in a meeting or at a professional development too, you might say one or two words. That's at least how I am. I know. And
yeah.
do they know that you have that you're more introverted, or would they be surprised by that? Because I feel like when I tell students like, oh, I got a sub tomorrow, guys, I got a PD, And they know what that is at this point because I've probably complained jokingly to them about it. But they were like, you probably
Same.
talk the whole time. And I was like, no, I'm actually silent 99% of the time. They're like, what?
I tell them I'm silent because I want to leave.
Exactly. And they're like, we know the strategy. This is what we got to use now.
Because like I feel like honestly, like I know we're talking about reflecting on like mandates, because I feel like honestly, certain PDs that we do are not conducive to like what we need right now.
Yeah.
Like I was doing the freaking teaching cycle. Who doesn't know the teaching cycle? That's like one of the things we learned in like undergrad and grad school, like already, like,
Right.
you know, when you're in your methods classes. But like they like, I feel like sometimes it's just fabricated just to show, all right, this is what I, as an administrator, did with my staff, and this is how, what kind of knowledge they got during this professional development, which, in all honesty, the best schools that I've seen, like have PDs are talking about issues that are revolving in their school, like immediate issues, or giving their teachers the flexibility to plan.
I feel like I'm very picky about it, and I like that planning time too. But for if it's like we had a PD one time, and it was all about reading strategies, and I was like, oh great, we got some pedagogical stuff, but it wasn't someone that had ever taught. And one of the suggestions that she came up with, she thought she was being so innovative. She was like, they could do a summary with only emojis on their phone, and we were like, what? And then you can do an activity where you got to figure out what it means. I was like, there's only 30 emojis. What are we supposed to do? So you can imagine what we were doing on our phones, not paying attention to mock this shitty idea. But that's what they came up with. But I feel like I'm really picky about it because it does feel like who picked this? Who assigned this? Why are we sitting here for 45 minutes talking about this? And then we've got, especially if it's a whole day. And if you have an icebreaker, I'm out, man. I'm going to go to the restroom. I can't do it. I'm not doing an icebreaker. I'm an adult. I've got my degrees. I'm good to go. I don't need any more icebreakers. When you're planning though, so you said that when you were a student, you were one that you always did your work. You were a little quiet though. That's essentially like group work, but like in a professional setting. Is it a relatively balanced, between you and your teaching partner? Is it balanced? Is it maybe like you split it up, like you take these three, I'll take these three, or how does that usually work for you guys?
I want to say it's balanced. Like I said before, it's just like, I'm a hermit when it comes to even like being in school. It's just me and my coworker. We don't just like, we have built such a great relationship that her and we don't really vibe with anybody else, especially like in our team, because like they're all older, and her and I are in our 20s, but they're all in like,
how many years together as teaching partners?
Three or four.
Okay, yeah, that's substantial.
Yeah, so we definitely like built a good rapport. She even helped me like to the point where like when I was choosing grad schools, when I was still a sub at this school, and then they pushed us together because they saw like once I covered for I want to say special ed teacher, and they saw that we worked great, and then they just pushed me in there, and then like we've been together ever since I've been onboarded. Mm-hmm. And then basically what happened was, we just vibed well, and like, during the time when I was just like, all right, I'd really need to get a master's. So I was 2 years out. Mm-hmm. And like, I was just like, do you have any perceptions about this school? And she was like, yeah, I went there. I actually know the program director. And then when it came down to it, I didn't wind up choosing that school, but that shows like the relationship that like we have, like that we're willing to go above and beyond, like, and do like stuff that like is outside of school. But definitely it does to balance. Like I'll take stuff on like what's on our plate, and I'll be like, all right, this is what we could do, this is how we could switch this up. And then same thing, she'll like take the baton and then like be like, all right, I think we should change this up because like I know students are struggling with this. I was like, I agree, I saw that too. So it's like definitely a working relationship, as opposed to other relationships, like kind of like before I went to the school. Like it's just like you don't want to be in an environment where there's toxicity in terms of like your coworkers, because like for teachers, like your school is like your second home basically, or your computer right now.
That's very true. For that then, and it's good that you don't have the toxicity, but if it's this even balance of she's leading on some stuff and then you've got the baton on other stuff, where's like the weirdest idea spaces? Like, where do you get your weirdest ideas? For me, I feel like it's like at the end of the day, I took some pre-workout, I'm at the gym, I'm minding my own business, and I'd be like, oh, I could do a detective lesson on this thing. Like, it's always the weirdest spot, like in the shower, brushing your teeth, cooking dinner, whatever it is. Where are some of the weird spots that you get some of your ideas to bring to the planning table?
Probably the bathroom, to be honest. Like, I'll be like doing my business and like it's like oh, like we can do this, and like for example, like we're doing the Outsiders right now, and as like a novel study, and it's been all right. Like I just kind of want to get it over with this point because like now it's just like the kids like saw the movie already, so I'm just like, come on, guys, we're supposed to watch the movie together,
right?
But you know, I can't control that. So
that works out though, by the way, because that's probably where most of them are reading The Outsider is also when they're doing their business. So you're in the right headspace when you're planning that.
So basically, it's like just went to the bathroom, forgot what I think it was, maybe brush my teeth or forgot, and then like I was just like thinking to myself, what can we do for this upcoming week? We're supposed to have 3 days, and then Monday, Tuesday were supposed to be testing days, like for my school, pushing testing. I don't know why, but we were supposed to get those 2 days next because like it was going to be just an overall testing day. So I thought on Friday, just to kind of finish off the week, so we're not breaking any kind of lessons, because like I want to start a new unit in 2 weeks. So I just like they can do a bio project, like, you know, just assign like a character, like pick one character that we've read thus far, tell me about like their traits, you know, their looks, their characteristics. And that was like a really good idea, so we ran with it. So it was in the bathroom. That's like my weirdest place to like get
all
ideas.
Of that. Yeah, it turned from like a 5 to 10 minute thing to like a 15-20 minute thing. Do you keep like a notepad by your bed in case you have a night where you can't fall asleep or you wake up and then you jot something down?
Yeah, so I keep, actually, you can't see it, but unless like you're listening to us, but in the video, I keep this journal. It actually matches my phone cover.
Nice.
And like I keep all my notes in there in terms of like what ideas I have, or if I like have to go back, like I'll just mark it down, and then I'm like, all right, I need to like figure out what we're gonna do for this test. And usually in terms of like the ideas too, it's like when caffeine's running in my system, like I'll go to Dunkin', you know, my mask on, or I'll go to Starbucks, drive to Starbucks, go to drive-through, and then like that's where my ideas I want to say come to life, especially like I just sit down, take some sips of like my Irish cream cold brew, and then just keep cranking those lessons out or those activities.
Yeah. No Baileys in that either. This is just regular cold brew, everybody.
Yeah, it's regular cold brew.
So I think that's actually, and we talk about ideas that we come up with, and I'm sure you probably have a similar process for your podcast. But there is one that we have a segment we've been doing that I think I came up with it maybe 6 months ago or so. But we like to call it our comment hero of the week. So we're gonna jump into that, and then I'll let you know what's going on there.
Welcome to the comment hero of the week. When someone's being an ass in the comment section, but they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about.
What's going on is you failed fucking social studies.
Or when you see someone call that person out, they are our comment hero of the week. Yeah! Even though some heroes do call out those idiots, remember, don't call out a comment hero in the comment section. You can't fix them, and you can't fix stupid.
All right, so Alex, our comment hero, we do this every week, and sometimes there's more than one, but basically, as the intro music will point out, it's anytime someone's being an asshole in the comment section, or sometimes it's the person that is being a genuine hero and calling out that person that's being an asshole. So our comment hero this week, and we usually just, we talk shit about it because, why not? And we, as always, we never give the full name. We're just going to give a partial name because we don't want people to actually go out and, our advice is don't actually engage with this. It's not worth your time. You can't fix them. But our comment hero currently right now, and as we're recording this on a Saturday at about 12:30, the Chicago Teachers Union is actually doing a car caravan to protest the reopening. And so this is an article from ABC7 Chicago saying CPS and CTU negotiations continue with sticking points holding up deal to avoid possible strike. students learning in person. Basically, the issue is that the district and union is very, very far apart. So our comment hero is Paul T. And Paul decided to write, I don't ever want to hear the teachers union or teachers say, we do it for the children. They do things for themselves. Pritzker, Emanuel, and Lightfoot have allowed obscene contracts to be passed to keep Democratic campaigns funds flowing. People of Chicago are getting screwed financially. The children are being screwed by these horrible people who should not be teaching or nurturing them. So in other words, us fighting for the safety of students and staff, we're just doing it for ourselves. We're just a bunch of greedy assholes. So Paul T, what do you think?
I think that's a completely bullshit comment. I've heard that like multiple times. Like there's probably a bunch of Paul T's out there.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, 100%. But like I just think like, you know, where's the basic decency of human beings? Like I think like a teacher or a person joins the teaching profession for like the love of kids. Nobody goes into the freaking teaching profession. Oh, I want to be a teacher because they make so much money. It's like not true. Like I think we've lost the common decency as like humans in terms of like we're in the middle of pandemic, man. Like we're trying to do the best that we can, and like we don't want to die. That's what it comes down to.
Right. We don't want our kids to die. We don't want to die. Can we just be okay with saying that and not being look like an asshole?
Like I went to a building because I thought we were going remote. I could have died in that building because the roof is collapsing. And like
pandemic aside, yeah.
like not only did I have to go out and get tested and like, you know, properly encounter COVID, but also I went into a building just casually, it was collapsing and then they had to fix it. So like I think that's a completely I want to say arbitrary comment. Like I guess this guy has never been in the classroom, I'm assuming. And it's just like putting all the blame on teachers just because like he probably doesn't want his kids home, if he has kids.
And it's funny you should mention that. So every so often I'll look them up or I'll click on their thing and I'll get a little bit of info about them. And Paul T doesn't have much listed. This is not an alias like most of our comment heroes are. There isn't much that he has posted that I can see. He's very tight-lipped on Facebook, aside from his stupid comment. But he is retired from the educational ministry of a particular church in a particular state. So he knows what it's like. But I guess he's high and mighty, literally and figuratively. Must be a former admin for a religious school, but he should know better. And he's making these comments. Right.
I mean, basically, like, I just think I've heard that comment so many times, and like even from parents, like I had a few Palties at my school where they took out their kid because we weren't going back, and like she was cussing us out, and like this was on a Google Meet, and like she called her in, you know, like we noticed that your child has been absent, like what's going on, and then she was like, y'all ain't doing your job. Like, my kid should be in school. Like, what am I paying you for? And I was like, actually, you don't pay us.
Right.
But like, this is why we're not in schools, because the roof is collapsing, there's scaffolding, and like, it's still not safe. Like, you know, my area of New York City was still having like the highest, or the school area was still having the highest rates of COVID. So like, our governor shut like down our area. So we were kind of like quarantining, which I was like, that makes sense because like it was skyrocketing at some point.
Yeah.
But again, like I don't know where common sense is lost in translation. Where why would you? It sounds so funny when you break it down. Like there's a global pandemic. People have died in record numbers. Plus, like you can't. So kids asymptomatically are more likely to carry the disease or COVID. You don't know. So why would you combine those two things in one central location so you can have more death? Like that doesn't make sense to me.
I wish I could and the people that say, well, it doesn't, there's no studies showing that schools are a main thing. it's a group of people in a small space for a long period of time. Like, it's not rocket science. Apparently it is to them, but no, it's just COVID science, people. It's just general germ science.
I don't know. All I could say is there's a bunch of Paul T's out in the world, and like, I mean, like, then again, you have like, I think, what's her name? AOC put it best when she was like clapping back at like, I guess like a Republican politician, where like she said, "You just tried to murder me last week," and that's what I feel like a lot of Paul T's are trying.
Ted Cruz, right? She was calling out Ted Cruz.
Yeah, so I think that's the basic sentiment of like teachers. Like, you're trying to like kill me. Like, I do not feel comfortable. Like, why can't I not feel comfortable in this setting and then like still do my job at home? Although, like, I get it, it's hard. Like, I would rather 100% be in the school, but it's not physically possible right now, given the circumstances.
I wonder too if it's almost at a certain point where like there have to be people that don't believe in it. Like, we have some of our like there are some coaches for some sports, I won't say because I am also a sports coach for a few sports. So I don't want to do anything that'll but there are some people that they just don't believe it's a thing. They're like, man, all this bullshit needs to be over soon. Like, come on, this isn't real. I wonder, I'm gonna make a poll on Instagram and just see teachers that follow me, or maybe I'll put a hashtag so other people just, do you believe in it? Do you think this is a thing? Because I've been trying to ask, like, I DM'd celebrities and I knew I wouldn't get a response, but I'm gonna keep trying. Maybe one will hit me back, but I'm gonna try that on once we're done with this one. But so you're in New York. This is your 5th year teaching. You handled your first comment hero beautifully, by the way. But the typical burnout rate, they say, for a teacher is between 1 and 5 years, and you're at the tail end. I've got one more to go until I'm out of that little zone there. With the podcast, with remote learning, with your general just growth as a teacher, how do you feel about, like, are you beating the 5-year thing? Is the podcast going to help? Is it hurting it? Like, how do we feel? You're going to grad school too, so that's another factor.
Yeah, I think the podcast has definitely helped in terms of just connecting with other teachers and even like administrators, just to gain more knowledge in terms of like how the school system works in other states. Because like I feel like geographically, like, we're so zoned to like, you know, our area, and like we don't see like what's going on in other states. So how can we improve like this or that, or even other schools, you know, like, oh, what are you doing in your school that's working for remote learning? So I think that in that aspect, the podcast has definitely helped, and just being able to vent, I think, really prevents that 5-year burnout rate where you're just venting to other teachers.
Yeah, we need it, right?
Like, yeah, definitely. Like, oh man, I had this kid like do this today. Has that ever happened to you? Oh, 100%. Like, that's happened to me like before. Like, for example, like I want to say one of the first guest podcast episodes that I was on, I like immediately vented her because like the episode just finished, I want to say like 2 days ago, and I was like, has this happened to you? She was just like, yeah, same. And it was about like kids not turning in their work, and I was just like, I definitely needed that. Like, she even posted a quote, was like, it's not only you that like, if you see this number, and it was like a Google Classroom number where it says 2 turned in, and it was like 27 assigned. It was like some very kind of like laborious number where it's just like, damn, did I do the right thing? Was my lesson like off? Or and it's not true. It's like, you're doing the best thing that you can, and like that's all you gotta be proud of, because like you can't beat yourself up as much as like I feel like society has like beat us, like the educational field up now. I mean, at the beginning, it was more so like that trend. Oh, teachers should get paid like $100K and like all this other stuff.
We're on our side then.
And then it comes September, and like, these teachers don't want to go to work. I was just like, no, we don't want to die. But just juggling everything is like, definitely it's been hard. I'm just gonna not sugarcoat it. Like, managing a podcast, being in my 5th year of teaching, it's definitely not for the weak, I want to say, like in terms of like, you gotta be mentally, like, it's mentally draining this year and this past year, where you just feel like, all right, I've done all that I can. I'm not seeing the benefits. I don't see kind of a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
But I'm honestly like, there are moments where, kids stay after class and then they were like, I respect you guys. You guys are like serious, but fun. And like that, those are the comments that really uplift me. So
Yeah.
like if you ever get one of those comments, like use that as a kind of, I want to say memory bank.
Yeah.
And like, so
Yeah.
like, that's your reason why you're doing it. But
Sustains
all
you
that,
for weeks at a time, probably. It could keep you up there.
oh yeah, definitely that comment has sustained me till now. Because like the student in particular, I feel for her. Like I even gave a spiel like to the rest of the class. Like she's brand new to the school, like brand new. Like she came in when school started. We started late, and she's been killing it. And like for her to say that, and like I only know what she looks like from like one like period of time where she turned on the camera, but she does the work, and like those are kids that you keep you in your spirits.
Yeah.
And in terms of like just grad school and everything else, like again, like making some sort of like concrete like visual checklist or to-do list, like that keeps me on my toes. But sometimes, to be honest, like I don't do everything, and like I just like put everything aside because again, this job is already strenuous. Being online and like just looking at a computer screen. There's one point where I was just like I had a huge migraine for 2 days, and I didn't look at the computer until like the next morning when I had to teach.
Yeah.
So just juggling everything, it's hard, but it's not impossible. Like do what you can, and then don't feel bad if you don't get everything done. And then just for the burnout rate, going into my 5th year, it's fun. Like I gotta say, teaching is fun for me. Like being in middle school, I would do high school too, but being in middle school, it's just like you can. These kids are like still malleable, where you can like go onto the carpet and like sit down, crisscross applesauce, and then just read a book, and or read a book to them, or just like even for like high school kids when I taught high school, it was fun. Like we did the Crucible. We did the Odyssey, and then we talked about like hero archetypes, and that was fun. So like I want to say connecting things that you love and that your students would love to the content. That's what definitely keeps me going.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just like seeing all the trends that like the kids are doing, trolling them like on like Google Classroom by making like TikToks, like when nobody like feels like that you're paying attention to them. And then like I played like what was it, Johnny Cash, Hurt, and then like the kids were just like laughing. But like honestly, I think that draws like attention to what you're doing.
Yeah, just a vehicle for it, and then it keeps you fresh.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And it keeps me pushing and kind of wanting to be better. But again, that's for like the teacher burnout rate, like is definitely real. Like if you're in a circumstance that like, that's not letting you to foster, then like for me, that happened my first 2 years. And then I thought like, I was like, I'm going to be out. Like the school was not it for me. But then I found a school setting that was more so filling for me. But, if you don't feel comfortable at the school you're at, don't hold yourself to that school.
Right.
Like there are definitely other schools out there that can play into your teaching ability and to like how you want to foster relationships within your classroom and even foster literacy in your classroom. That's what I would say. Like if you're experiencing, because like it's definitely at times like the teachers that I know that have gone out, it's the situation that you're in.
That's why those kids, especially too, those are, if you have those moments and maybe you're on the cusp, and those can be the difference makers, is you give them an opportunity to to jump in, or something that's fun and engaging for them, and it keeps you going personally. But
definitely,
I mean, in terms of your podcast itself, I mean, I'm hoping things go well and continue to trend upward and all that stuff. I appreciate you jumping on and offering some insight. It's nice to get somebody else on and hear what they're thinking. But for your podcast itself, First Year Teacher Lens, where can they check you out?
You can check me out on Anchor, on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts. I actually have a link on my IG handle. It's first the number one and then first Gen Teacher Lens, all in one name. So check me out there. Check out the link on the bio. I'm on Spotify too. And then I'm just looking forward to just connect with people out there and then other podcasters, teachers. And yeah, it's been fun. It's been so much fun. Like just like hearing other teachers' experiences and like knowing that I'm not alone when kids don't turn in their stuff.
Absolutely. It's the best part. It's the connections that we make. Well, thanks again, Alex. I appreciate you. Everybody listening in, be sure to check it out. I was on his podcast. I'm not sure when that episode will come out, but check out First Year Teacher Lens. For those Patreon members, thank you guys for your support. Everybody else, if you want that podcast merch, that bonus content, those bonus episodes specifically, behind the scenes stuff, all that good stuff, even voting power on the podcast, head on over to patreon.com/classroombrew. So again, thanks for listening. Thanks for being on. And until next week, class dismissed.